This is lesson 6-2, solving a system of inequalities by graphing. Here are your steps to finding your solution set for this. Step 1 is you want to graph both inequalities on the same set of axes. When you shade your inequalities, you probably need to use different markings. I would recommend you use different color highlighters. In fact, I would recommend that you use yellow and blue, and there will be a reason for that. Make sure that you label both of your inequalities properly with their original functions. Step 2 is to mark your solution set wherever the markings are the same with an S or whatever the letter the problem tells you to use. Typically, they will tell you to use an S. An optional step 3 would be to check your work using one of the points in the solution set. Take one of the points in the solution set and test it in both inequalities to make sure that it is a true statement for both. Lastly, make sure you answer any of the follow-up questions that come. Typically, any of the follow-up questions will ask for a point in one of the areas on the graph. So it could be in the intersection of solution sets with the two inequalities. It could be one of the inequalities and not the other. It could be a point where both inequalities do not satisfy. Please make sure you're reading carefully with these questions. Let's take a look at some examples. The first one will be a guided example. Let's find the solution set to those two inequalities. Pause the video at this point to give yourself a chance to set up graph paper. Then you may press play again to see how it's done. I'll do my first inequality in red. This inequality is already in slope-intercept form. So I can start with my slope being 1 over 1 and my b, my beginning, my y-intercept being -1. So I'll start at -1 on my graph and I'll go up 1 and over 1 all the way throughout. Notice the sign that we have here does not have a bar underneath it. This would make this a dashed line. Arrowheads on the ends. Label it. And as you're going to see me do here, I'm now going to shade this with a highlighter. And I'm going to use a yellow highlighter for this shade. Since we're less than, want to be shading below where the down arrow is. Now, hopefully you'll do a better job than what I'm doing here of shading in. But you get the idea. Now, the second one I'll do in black. And I do need to put it in slope-intercept form. So I need to subtract x from both sides. I'm going to tuck that in front. So now I have y is greater than or equal to -x plus 2. That's the slope of -1 over 1. With a beginning or y-intercept of 2. So I'll start at 2, and I'll go down 1 and over 1 all the way through. This will be a solid line since there is a bar underneath that sign. Please make sure you're using a straight edge when you're doing these. I need to label it with my original and greater than or equal to is telling me to shade up. This, I'll use my blue highlighter. So now I'll shade in this part, and as you can see, look what happens when I run into the other inequalities solution set. That part turns green. And in essence, what I've done by doing the blue and yellow, and remembering what I learned in kindergarten about blue and yellow making green, I now have highlighted exactly what my solution set will be. And now I can mark this with an S. Since there are no follow-up questions, I am now done. Let's try this example. Pause the video at this point to give yourself a chance to try it on your own. So I'll do the first inequality in red. And we need to change it so that it's in slope-intercept form. So I'll subtract 2x from both sides. Tuck it in. Now I have y is greater than or equal to negative 2x plus 4. My slope is negative 2 over 1. My beginning, my y-intercept, is going to be 4. So on my graph, I'll start at 4. I'll be going down 2 and over 1 all the way throughout. This is going to be a solid line since there is a bar underneath that sign. Arrowheads, label, and we are greater than, so we will shade with the highlighter. And I'll use blue for this one. Again, it doesn't have to be colored in completely. You certainly could just do lines. Again, that's completely up to you. But this is my suggestion for how to easily get a solution set. So now we'll do the other one. Do this one in black. Y minus x is less than 2. We'll add x to both sides. Tuck it in front. So y is less than x plus 2. That's a slope of 1 over 1 and a beginning of 2. Fortunately, my blue highlighter makes this a little difficult to see, but this sign here will tell me to do a dashed line. So I'll be doing a dashed line all the way throughout. Again, please make sure you're using a ruler for yours. It's tough for me to do that on the smartboard. Label it with the original. And it's less. So now I'll be taking my yellow highlighter and highlighting below the black dashed line, since we are less than. And again, once again, as you can see, our solution set is going to turn green. And so the follow-up question of which point is in the solution set of y minus x is less than 2, but not in the solution of the system. I want to pick one that's in the yellow. And so I really want to pick one right in the middle, anywhere in this part here. And I'll just pick this one right here since it's right in the middle of the yellow. And that point right there would be -3, -5. So I want to pick one point that's only in the yellow. If you're having any issues with any portion of this lesson, please make sure you're emailing me or consulting me in class.